All right, peace, family, peace, family, peace, family. This is Maury Yaakov in part 3 of the video reaction. Thank the Creator for everything. Thank you for joining me. This is ITFTR Network. And tonight we're doing part 3 on the video reaction. So if anybody wants to join me in the chat, the link is in the chat. So make sure as when you come in, you are pressing the like and subscribe button so as that we can allow YouTube to know that we are here. Excuse me. We thank the Creator for everything that He has done and what He will do. So it's a beautiful day today in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Oh boy, it's a beautiful day today. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Oh boy. This is something that I want to get into. Excuse me for stretching. I'm just kind of a little tired tonight. We are in part 3 in the video reaction of the video that was sent to me. In part 4, Brother Marcus is going to close it out to show you where the real Jerusalem is. Promised land, the real one, not the fake one. Okay? Because a lot of people love that fake Jerusalem. I mean, they swam across the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, just to point to it. Oh boy. I mean, these folks will, I don't know about these folks. But we're gonna do a reaction about some more of these Negro features. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody want to talk. You know, the brother said that they came over here and got the Negro features. Oh boy, hey, whatever it is. But tonight I'm gonna be talking about, is Israel scattered across the earth? I'm talking about in the 4 corners. Because a lot of Israelites want to talk about Israel is all across the earth. And I don't know, but I'm gonna see what the evidence say, because they always love to hop on that transatlantic slave trade. Like they done got their back beat out and everything stopped, taken from them. You know what I'm saying? They don't have no more culture. They don't have nothing. And now they blaming the white man. The white man is the cause for them not to have nothing in life. Come on. I mean, seriously. It's amazing that they blame this so-called white man, and the only thing they got is the transatlantic slave trade. They don't know the time they came here. They don't know the ship name. They don't know the captain name. They don't even know what part of West Africa they got picked up from. Hey, ask them what country that they got picked up from. They gonna look at you and be mad. Like, why you had to ask that question? But then you ask them, what color was the captain? They're gonna say, all of them at the same time gonna say white. They remember the skin tone, but don't remember his name. Oh boy. Hey, was he tall, short, or was he medium built? Oh boy. Did he have his coffee in the morning, or he liked to drink sodas? They love to talk about these white folks, boy. But it's amazing to me that, they don't know nothing else but that so-called white man and that African man. They don't want to be him. They don't want to be him now. No, especially the one with the bone in the nose. The one got the long stretched neck would look like a rubber band. Everybody run from him. Oh boy, this is funny. It's funny, man. It's funny. And then they don't like they don't want to be connected with the long heads in the back. With the head like a bucket. It almost look like a bucket in the back. Oh man. Oh boy, they want to be the royalty, man. They want to be the royalty. The one with the purple garments, with the gold outprint and the gold shoes and the diamond necklace. That's what they want to be. But then when you ask them, do you see any of them people in your bloodline? They're gonna look at you with a strange eye, like the Israelites be looking at you, because you asked them with the name who. What the captain name that brought your people here to America? They're gonna look at you with a strange eye. And the only thing they're gonna tell you, all we know is he was white. He was white. That's all they're gonna tell you. But listen. We're gonna go ahead and get into it, because I don't want to be on here too much long tonight. We're just gonna kind of pick up from where we left off on the Shabbat. Because the brother did mention in his video that that the 10 tribes came over here, along with the northern kingdom came here, along with some of the southern kingdom. It's a little small, a little itty bitty bit, and they mix among the northern kingdom, and that's how the northern kingdom got the Negro features. Hey, but somehow when these folks came here, they bumped into nothing but Negroes. So what happened to the northern kingdom? Oh, my bad. That's what split the kingdom. The southern kingdom took the northern kingdom women. So now the split came between the nation of Israel because of the Negro features. Because they ain't see no Latinos and no Native Americans when they got here. All they saw was a bunch of Negroes. So you got to ask yourself, what happened to the northern kingdom? They got bred out. Boy, that brother doctrine is foolish. What'd you say, Brother Marcus? What'd you say, man? What'd you say? He done drop. I just give him praise, he dropped. Yeah. But Brother Marcus, come on back in, Brother Marcus. Come on back in. Come on back in. Come on back in. I know you we just having some fun tonight. We just having some fun. That's all. Just having some fun. Listen. Listen, I'm without no further ado, we're gonna get on into it. Was the Israelites spread it on the four corners of the earth? And that's the question that needs to be answered. You know, because a lot of people want to, a lot of people who goes by that doctrine that Israel went to the four corners of the earth, and the four corners of the earth is all over the earth. You know, that's what we have to. We're going to pretty much examine tonight. I'm gonna kind of examine. So, Brother Marcus, once again, welcome, brother. Welcome. Drop again, brother. Welcome, brother. Welcome. So, tonight going to be, it's going to be a body bag tonight, because they love to talk about the Atlantic slave trade, but nobody wants to talk about that Pacific slave trade, because that was just as important as the Atlantic slave trade, and in fact, it was going on during the same time as the Atlantic slave trade. And a lot of brothers who talks about that Atlantic slave trade don't accept that. You know, they don't know about the Pacific slave trade, and there was many other slave trades that was taken on because slavery was a worldwide business. So we say, well, not we. I'm not a part of that we. I used to be a part of that we, but I kind of fell back off that we. But I hear a lot of people just talk about the Atlantic slave trade, and you don't hear them deal with the actual slavery. So I want to start out with one scripture here real quick. Let me pull it up real quick. Just give me a second. What's up, Brother Marcus?
How you doing? Going out.
I can barely hear you. What'd you say, Brother Marcus? Okay. I'm gonna go to Jeremiah 31:31. I mean, excuse me, not Jeremiah 31:31. Don't tell me it's happening again. Is it happening again? How my face look? Do I look like I'm tired? Oh, I do look like I'm tired. It's Jeremiah 31:10. Jeremiah 31:10. So let's ride it real quick. Let's ride there real quick. Let's deal. What say, Brother Marcus? Okay. Jeremiah 31:10. This is what it says. Let me start at verse 9. Well, start at verse 8. I want to start at verse 8. It says, behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the woman and the child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. Verse 9. Then shall come with weeping and with supplication will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of the water in a straight way wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Then it says, verse 10, here's the word of the Creator. O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him, and keep him as the shepherd doeth his flock. Verse 11, and for the Creator has redeemed Jacob and ransomed him for the hand of him that was stronger than he. So in other words, the Creator said he's going to gather us. Verse 10 say the word of the Creator, O ye nations. Right there, the Creator is talking to the earth. And he said, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles. Excuse me, afar off. Now, we're going to look at that afar off. We're going to tackle that tonight. From the isles that is afar off. And say, he that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd do his flocks. So if you pay attention to just that, if you pay attention to just that, if you pay attention to just that, he said, he that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him and keep him. That means the Creator knows exactly where Israel is. And he knows exactly who Israel is, where they're at. And he knows he knows the things that is going on with his people. Because he said, as a shepherd do his flocks. And if you notice one thing, a shepherd don't let his flocks go too far. I want to say that again. A shepherd do not allow his flock to go too far from him. I want you to pay attention to that.
You hear me, brother?
I got you, brother. Go ahead. What you got?
No, I just want to make sure I'm
Go ahead.
I had to turn my volume up.
Yeah, make sure you turn your volume up.
No, I had.
There you go.
Turn my volume up. Make sure that I actually, you know what I'm saying, got it. Yeah, I did. I turned it up.
I hear you loud and clear. So
yeah, turn my volume up. I'm listening. I've been here from the beginning. I'm interested in this.
Okay, all praises. So, a shepherd do not allow his flock to go too far from home. I want you to pay attention to that one. Okay? Listen to what it says. And keep him as a shepherd do his flock. Now, when have you ever known a shepherd to allow his flocks to wander so far from home that they don't have no way to get back home? Huh? When have ever a shepherd lose track of his flock or allow the flock to go too far? Where's that the shepherd don't know where the flock at? That's what we're going to pay attention to tonight. Because the flock has not gone far from the house. Okay? Let me read it again. Hear the word of the Creator, verse 10. O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off. Why declare it in the isles and afar off? You're talking about the islands afar off. Say, he that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd do his flocks. Okay? Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Maccabees 3 and 48. First Maccabees 3 and 48. The Creator is going to keep Israel. Okay? First Maccabees 3:41. Let's start at verse. We're going to go to 41. Okay? This is what it says. Let me pull it up. And it says, and the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much, with servants, and came unto the camps to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the lands of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. It says they came to the camp to buy. But if you read the story, it never say they bought. You can read the 3rd chapter and go into the 4th chapter and the 5th chapter. It never say they bought them. But you will see that Israel, the nation of Israel, inside of Maccabees, fought the Greeks. They fought the Greeks. Okay? Now, let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter. Let's see what the Greeks did. Let's see what the Greeks did. Verse 1, it says, for behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have what? Scattered among the nations and parted my land. Now right there they say, oh, Israel is scattered among the nations. Notice it says Israel is scattered among the nations. Okay? And notice what it says, because it says they came to buy silver and gold. He says, because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. So there go the silver and gold again. Okay? And it says, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the who? Grecians, that you might remove them far from their borders. Now right there they say, oh, see right there, Israel was taken across the water. Israel was taken across the water. Okay? Israel will take them across the water. I mean, they was taken across the water. But hold on. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next one. Deuteronomy 64, 28, 64. Let's go there. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, verse 64. verse 64. Because this is another one that everybody uses. Israel is scattered among the nations. And this is what it says. Deuteronomy 28:64. And it says what? And the Creator shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there shall serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. See? And among these nations shall thou find no ease. So when we go among these nations, we're not going to find no ease, but we're going to be scattered from one end of the earth until the other. We're going to be scattered among all people. Right there, they say that's Russia, that's China, that's Australia, you know, that's Greenland, Antarctica, the South Pole, the North Pole, Japan, Philippines. Hell, we even sitting on the corners. Ain't got nobody there, but we still sitting there. That's where they say we at. We just sitting on the corners. I wonder, now I know why we so dope a lot. Because we like them corners. And that's why they put up that sign, no lottery. You know what I'm saying? Stay off them corners, family. And every time you go in the hood, you see nothing but Negroes on them corners. Them corners, boy. Them corners. So they say we're going to be scattered among all people. That's even people you never seen before. People you don't even know how they speak. You don't know their language, their culture. They got a funny way of dressing. Some of them got a funny way of smelling. You're going to be scattered among those ones that got them long necks, look like a rubber band. Their hairs look like a bucket. Huh? You're going to be scattered among all people. They say all people, even the midgets. The midgets got Israel in captivity right now today. So we got to look for that land where the midgets at. Because they got Israel too. Because the midgets are people too. Among all people. All people. I'm talking about all people. Huh? Even the people in the woods. So Israel's in the woods too. Oh my God, this is funny, man. This is funny. Israel is in the woods with the people that live in the woods. Man, this is funny, man. I mean, Israel living among everybody. I mean, this is everybody, Brother Marcus. Israel just with everybody, the midgets, the people in the woods, the people that live in the trees. Oh, man. Oh, wow, this is funny. Let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. We just, I mean, I don't know. There's no sympathy for Israel. You know what I'm saying? There's no sympathy for Israel. We just, oh man, there's no sympathy for Israel. Hey, now I understand why we have to go in the woods for tabernacles. Because that's where some of our people at, in the woods. I'm just having some fun. Oh, you got your tent ready? Maybe when we go in the woods, we'll find some Israelites. Look at what they say this verse said. Hey, you got people that do live in the woods. You got people live in the woods, they live in campus, you know what I'm saying? So Israel is among those white people that live in campus. How about the people that live in Amazon with no clothes on? Israel might be there too. That's what it says. It says it's among all people. All people. All people. Because if we're gonna take it literal, we got to take it literal. That means Israel is among those white folks that live in the campus, that live in the campus in the woods. Go down in the woods, you got the people that got the little scrap that go around and cover the little crack to the butt and the little private part in the front. Israel is among them too, huh? That's right. How about the people that live by the volcanoes? But let's keep going, because that's what verse 64 say. Among all people, huh? From one end of the earth to the other. So Israel just among everybody. I mean, everybody. You got to go to everybody to see if you see an Israelite. Huh? You got to go among everybody. I mean, because an Israelite just might be on that corner. Might be in the woods. Might be living in a camper next to, the campers. The white folks live in them campers. That's where the Israelite might be too. Because he's among all people. Huh? That's right. Because that's how they literally take it. The Israel just all over the place. The Creator, he just scattered them, just scattered them. He didn't care where they went at. They just scattered. They just all over the place. Wow. There's no boundaries. They just been all over the place. Some Israelites are homeless, living in a box. Because you do got people living in a box now, so Israel might be among those people that living in a box too. Because that's what it say. I'm just being comical before I even drop these bombshells. I'm just being comical, but I'm about to drop these bombshells in a minute. So let's go to the next one, man. Let's go to the next scripture. Let's go to Jasher, the ninth. If I read the book of Jasher, the 90th chapter, the book of Jasher, the 90th chapter, when Japheth came and conquered Esau, when he conquered Esau and he included Esau with him, he didn't scatter Esau, but why would he scatter the Israelites? Why would he scatter the Israelites? And even inside of Daniel's vision, you see the captivities that came about, that Daniel was talking about, but you don't see nothing in those captivities that Israel was scattered. You don't see that. You don't see that. So let's look at one thing real quick. Let's look at the Natchez people. Oh, I got to share my screen. What am I doing? Let me go back. Let me share my screen real quick. The Natchez tribe. Okay. Remember on Friday night, I told y'all about the Metis, M-E-T-I-S, the Metis people. And those are the people that were mixed. Those are the French that were mixed with the indigenous nation. Okay. And I told y'all, and I showed y'all on Saturday. Friday, excuse me, Salakia. Friday, I was showing you that the Mexicans and the Latinos are mestizos, okay? And there was a mixed group of people. There's no way that the Mexicans and Latinos and the Native Americans can be indigenous when they are simply mixed. Mixed people are never indigenous to anything, okay? Then Saturday, I showed y'all I showed y'all the slave castle in Sierra Leone, not Sierra Leone, in Senegal, the doors of no return. That was straight fiction and false. Okay? And those people were the Metis, the indigenous people from Canada of North America, and they mixed in with the French. And then I showed you that some of the people that was the Acadians had left from Canada. Some of them went over to Senegal, Africa, and some of them migrated down. They migrated down to New Orleans, all right, in Louisiana. Now look at the Natchez. In this article right here, you can go pull it up for yourself. All right, you can pull this up for yourself. And this is right here. It says the Natchez Uprising by Paper Mounts, James B. Borders, the 5th or the 4th, whatever it is. Storytell, C.C. Gibbons, artist. Now, let's read some of this article. It says human history. I ain't meant to go that far down. Human history from the 15th to the 20th century is dominated by European unrelenting encroachment on the theft of land and natural resources in the New World and the global South. The New World is the United States to them because they never been here. Okay, they never came. They started coming over here, and when they came here under warfare. Okay, and it says through chicanery was deployed from time to time to accomplish these aims: military brutality. It says military brutality was the invaders' primary tool to conquest and control. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That the Europeans know when they came here, why they came here. They didn't come here for this and that. They came here to control. Okay? And it says the native people who were supplanted, dispersed, or eliminated were generally the what? Generally at technological disadvantage when it came to waging war against these invaders. Psychologically, to the occupant were sometimes slow to grasp the unmitigated greed of these new arrivals from across the sea, a greed that was hard to fathom in a land of abundance. Abundance. Now, why was it so hard for the natives of these lands to recognize what these Europeans were doing. Now, the first thing you got to ask you're going to ask yourself is, well, see, that's what the white man was doing. But let me ask you a question. When you see a white man in your neighborhood, tell me, do your psyche look out for them if you don't know them? Yes, it does. Because if you're not used to that man being in your neighborhood, you're going to constantly stare at that man and you're going to pay attention and watch that man. So we knew that these Europeans were not Caucasians. These Europeans that they were talking about were Negroes like you and I. That's how they end up slipping themselves inside of your community, and it didn't raise no alarm, because when you have people that look like you, it's easy for them to infiltrate than people that don't look like you. Okay, let's keep going. It says psychologically, too, the occupant were sometimes slow to grasp the unmitigated greed of these new arrivals from across the sea. A greed that was hard to fathom in a land of abundance, meaning everything was here. There were plenty for everyone. That was clear. But since some people had already established long-standing domain over certain areas, the newcomers would have to what? They would have to find open, unclaimed territory or places generously granted to them by the natives if they attended to stay. Meaning that they had to find an open spot to be able to be in that area. Okay? That's what when the Europeans came, they just didn't come and just say, this where I'm gonna stay at right here. That's not how that went. Okay, that didn't go like that. They didn't just come over here and dominated themselves over here. They didn't do that. They had to get permission in certain places. They had to get permission to be in certain places. Okay, if they intended to stay, they had to have permission. See, we think that these folks just came over here and just dominated and control everything. This is what we believe. This is what we are taught. That the natives of this land didn't have no kind of power. No kind of power, that these folks just came over, the white man just came over and said, sit down. And all the natives just sat down. Stand up, and all of a sudden the natives stand up. See, I think that's how they made that game. Simon Says, stand up. Simon says, sit down. Simon said, touch your nose. Simon said, give me your land. Here you go. This is what we believe. We believe this foolishness. But in reality, they had to get permission, find an opening and get permission to see if they can stay in that opening of land that nobody was on. Let's keep reading. It says, the line, hold on, went too far down. It says the line of thinking was wasted on these hordes of adventures. However, they routinely just took what they wanted and killed anyone who dare protest. Listen to what they did. They took what they wanted. How did they take it? They had to find a way to get these people to accept them. They had to find some way to get the natives to drop their guard. See, they had one intentions in their mind. And the natives had another intention in their mind. Okay? And then when they got in good, they waged war from the inside. Because it had to be somebody on the inside to allow these people in. Okay? These Europeans possessed superior weapons of destruction, and they fought to the death. This is what they say. These European, but they came over here with musket guns. You know what I'm saying? They came over here with musket guns. Their weapons were not superior. Their influence was superior, just like their influence today is superior. Huh? Their influence is superior. And yes, they did fight to the death because they had nothing else to live for. And I'm going to show you in a minute why they didn't have nothing to live for when they got here. It is not surprising then that they were overwhelmingly victorious in their battles year after year, century after century, place after place, until they could proclaim complete sovereignty over the entire countries. Huh? Just like today, they're not giving you an inch to be able to come back to yourself. It says, nevertheless, every now and then, the underdogs in these confrontations struck a low blow for justice and gave these brutish rivals a bit of what? Monetary compensation. This was the case with the Natchez uprising in 1729. This was supposed to have been going on during the time of slavery, when so-called African slaves were coming here, or what some people, what the Israelites would say, when the Israelites was coming here. This is what they'll tell you. Because remember, according to them, the Israelites were coming here during those times. They started in 1619. That's what they tell you. But the Natchez, the Pequot, the Iroquois, and all these other nations were fighting. And they say that those were the northern kingdoms that was already here. During the early part of the 18th century, which is 1700s, when the French claimed control over the lower Mississippi River Valley. I kept telling people the Mississippi River is very important. But you didn't believe it. Y'all don't believe it. Y'all don't believe it. They established a military settlement near the traditional homes of the Natchez Indian, 175 miles northwest of New Orleans. The French had selected the area as a tobacco growing region and forced the native people to be part of the undertaking labor force, along with imported Africans. Watch the hijack. Dodge the hijack. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to show you who these Africans that they were bringing in. Okay? We're going to talk about that. But when a new commander demanded possessions of the main Natchez village to annex to his own plantation, the natives stalled the Frenchmen until they could plan a proper response. I mean, they started to fight back because it's their land. On the morning of November 1729, they made their move and attacked the French fort and other living quarters, killing 230 white men. Now, I want you to pay attention to that white man. That white man is only a classification of Negroes that classify themselves above you because you are a slave. That's why they call you black. That's why they call you Negro. That's why they call you African American. That's why they call you colored. That's why they call you Afro-American. I'll show you something in a minute. The revolt was a major blow to the what? Fortunes of the French, and helped contributed to the collapse of the Company of the Indies, which had a contract with the French monarch to what? Economically exploit the territory, meaning they was coming here getting slaves, and they were coming here getting the goods. The Europeans later waged a retaliatory campaign against the Natchez using Choctaw. So the Choctaw is now fighting the Natchez, or the Chata. And African forces, an alliance with they later regret fostering. Now, the African dodged the hijack because the word African was not even used back then. That continent was not even called Africa. So why would they have? Because this is a later document that was written, and they changed the name, the title, to Africa. Let's go. It says the fighting went for several years, forcing the Natchez eventually to seek refuge among the what? Chickasaw. Dodged the hijack for these names. Then the Creek, and finally the Cherokee, before disappearing as a distinct people by the mid-1730s. In the meantime, the French repossessed the Natchez land, which remained under the white control thereafter. White dodged the hijack for white. That ain't the Caucasian. 100 years later, the town named Natchez had become a major trading center for enslaved African workers. Workers! Not slaves, it said workers. In the cotton field of the Mississippi Delta. Okay? These were workers. They were not slaves. Let's go to the next one. Let's read this right here real quick. Let me see if it's up on my screen. Let me present it. Share my screen. It says around in the year of 1672, the English settlers paid Etowah Indians to abandon the land between the rivers Ashley and Cooper, similar to the Dutch colonists who purchased Manhattan from Native Americans in 1626. Old Dirty Bastard, the rapper, his family were chiefs of that tribe of Manhattan. Details of the transaction are now lost, meaning they can't find the transaction. And now I wonder if Manhattan was ever sold. But valuable clues survived within records of the early South Carolina. The Charleston Time Machine explores the context of evidence of this forgotten transaction. South Carolina. Old Dirty Bastard was a part of that nation. He was an Indian. See? He was an Indian. Hey, peace, family. Peace, Yahaithan. Peace, Yahaithan. Peace, family. Peace. Make sure each one when y'all come in, make sure please press the like button and subscribe button. If you haven't, press the like and subscribe. Thumbs up and thumbs down. We want to make sure that the like and subscribe. We want to make sure that YouTube recognize us being here. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's share the next page. Oh, we just getting started. We just getting started. Oh, we just getting started. Planning, Charleston in 1672. The Iroquois removal. Why this is not on the chart when these brothers and sisters stand out on the corner? Why this not out on the chart? Who is these people? Charleston on the peninsula called the Oyster Point became the capital of South Carolina in 1680, but plans for the port town commerce nearly a decade earlier. One of the first steps in its creation was an act of displacement ignored by later historians. They ignored this displacement of these particular type of people. Like the Dutch colonists who in 1626 purchased Manhattan. You got to go look up old dirty bastard. His people come from, and they are indigenous to Manhattan, New York. Go look it up. From Native Americans, English settlers, Circa, 1672 paid Iroquois Indians to abandon their land between the rivers of Ashley and Cooper. Details of long forgotten transactions are now lost, but valuable clues survive within within records of the earlier South Carolina. The story of what we might call the Iroquois removal is an important episode in the history of the Palmetto State. What is the Palmetto? They call South Carolina that right now, the Palmetto State. But you won't find it mentioned in the history books written over the past few centuries. The reason behind this omission are both simple and lamentable. First, the documentary evidence related to the story is exceedingly thin, meaning they don't have the documents, fam, and has lingered in obscurity within the footnotes of the larger narrative of South Carolina history. Meaning you got to really look for this stuff. You really got to dig if this stuff actually exists. Second, the early historians of South Carolina adopted the Eurocentric focus that emphasized the lives and labor of white settlers who, for most of the state long history, formed the minority of its population. See, and the first thing we think about is white settlers. We think about Caucasians, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. The Native Americans who inhabited the Charleston area in the late 17th and the early 18th century, 17 to 1600s, the 18th is the 1700s, were largely swept aside by European immigrants who regarded them as salvages, as I described in episode number 220. The numerous indigenous tribes of the South Carolina Lowcountry faded into obscurity within a few generations after the English settlements of South Carolina in the 1670s. The task of reconstructing their obscure history requires us to examine carefully minutes, shards of evidence, both physical and documentary, to identify small details that help us understand a larger picture of the forgotten past. If they are part of the 10 tribes, why y'all don't talk about these people? Do y'all know about these people? Why y'all forget about them? Or y'all just put them on the chart and just say Native Americans, right? Why don't you be specific like you call the Seminoles on your chart? Huh? Why you don't be specific? Why you forget about these people? The evidence related to the movement of the Inuit people consists of two briefs referenced within documents written some years after the fact. Both of the sources in question pertain to the site of the Charlestown and the peninsula between the river Ashley and Cooper. The town, now called Charleston, was not the first English settlement within the present bounds of the Palmetto State, nor the first to be named Charlestown. The English colonists who arrived here in the spring of 1670 camped at a peninsula they call Albemarle Point on the west side of Ashley River. They initial settlements named Charlestown in harbor of the reigning English monarch provided a base for immigrants who immediately began exploring the surrounding countryside in search for a better accommodations. Notice it says the English monarch provide a base for immigrants, not with an E, but with an I. Meaning these people were coming here, scouting out the land and taking it. Who were these immigrants that were taking the indigenous land? Who were these people? Huh? Who were these immigrants? The present site of the city Charleston, rooted on the peninsula between the rivers Ashley and Cooper, was called Oyster Point by the earliest English settlers planning for a town on the southernmost portion of the peninsula. Officially commenced in 1672, and the unnamed town at Oyster Point, and I can show you where Oyster Point at right now today, attracted a small number of settlers during the ensuing years. South Carolina Nassau government officially moved across the Ashley River in the spring of 1680, at which time the unnamed town at Oyster Point became New Charlestown, and the initial settlement at Albemarle Point became known as Old Town, now Charlestown Landing State Historical Site. You can read the rest of it on your own. I'm gonna go ahead on because I want to move forward. Okay, let's get into the first video. Jonathan told me, he say stop capping. What am I capping, brother? The link is in the chat. Come on in, brother. What am I capping? Unless you at work. What am I capping? I'm capping? Well, let's see if I'm capping. Let's go. Let's get the first video in. Let's get this first video. Let's see if this capping, brother. Let's see if this right here capping. Let's see if this capping. Because y'all have the Native Americans on y'all chart, right? Native Americans, the Seminoles. Y'all call them Gad and the 10 tribes, huh? What else on y'all chart, brother? The Latinos, huh? The Mexicos, huh? That came from the Negroes. Let's go ahead and get this first one, brother. Let's get this first video in. This something that y'all camps love right here. This y'all video. This is fair use on the 1976 Act. And this is not my material. I'm using this for teaching purposes only. I'm using this for criticism and reaction. This is not my material. So fair use. Here we go. Check this out. Now y'all you gonna love this video because this what y'all love. This what y'all teach right here. So here you go.
Through Aramaic studies, Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor wrote a book titled From Babylon to Timbuktu.
Hold on. He said from Babylon. Oh, Babylon, where my book at? Let me show you. I got that book. Hold on, I got that book. Hold on. Where my book at? I gotta find my book. coming. I'm getting the Babylon book. I'm gonna show y'all I got it. Y'all should be familiar with this book. Because you got to have this book to be in the camp. Come on, brother. You know what I'm talking about, right? You got to have this book. He said, I love the English people. He said, I love the English people. He said, you see what this brother said? I love the English people. But here's the thing, though. He don't even know who, I bet you he don't even know who the English people are. Hey, Jehoiakim, is the English people white or black? Which one? Which one is it? He said, bearing false witness again. Jehoiakim, is the English people white or black, brother? Which one? Can you tell me which one are they? They do white or black, brother? Huh? Which one is it, brother Jehoiakim? Is they white or black? Is the English Caucasians or Negro? He said, they are your brother. So the English is my brother, right? Hey, watch this. Stay tuned. You're going to be, I thought I had it. Oh, hold on. I thought I had it. It should be in the front because I thought I put it in here. Hold on. Yeah, come right here. Oh, I'm sitting on it. I'm sitting on my book. Oh my goodness, I got the book. I used to be a camper, man. I used to be a part of a camp, man. You see, I got my book. Hey. He said the European's my brother. Let's keep going. Let's ride, brother. Let's ride. Let's go ahead. Let's keep going, brother. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Here we go. Rudolph Windsor. This man wrote this book From Babylon to Timbuktu. Now, when this video get finished, we're gonna read page 9 and we're gonna see how true this is. All right, so let's keep going. Let's ride.
In his book, Dr. Windsor gives an account of the scattering of the Israelites. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with...
Now notice he say, General Vespasian put an end to the Jewish state, okay? I want you to pay attention to that one. He put an end to the Jewish state. Let's go, let's keep
great
going.
Slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrageous and horrific atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period of Pompey to Julius, it had been estimated that over 1 million Israelites fled into Africa.
Now let's stop right there. He said over 1 million Israelites fled into Africa. You familiar with that, right? Jehoiakim? Over 1 million fled into Africa, brother. I'm talking about 1 million. That's on the low end, brother Jehoiakim. 1 million, brother, so that could have been 5 million. Fled into Africa. Watch this now. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery.
So Jehoiakim, they fled from Roman persecution and slavery, brother. Let's say he say 1 million. I'm gonna give him 3 million. I'm gonna say so 3 million. 3 million Africans fled from Roman persecution and slavery, and they got into Africa, brother. Listen to that now. Let's keep going. Watch this.
Millions of Israelites who escaped the persecution of the Roman Jewish war fled into the interiors of Africa.
Now notice he said they fled into the interior of Africa. 3 million, but I'm gonna stay with his number. 1 million. 1 million fled into the interior of Africa, brother. Do you know what that look like? That look like a dust storm. That look like a dust storm coming into Africa, brother. Them brothers, they just fleeing and all kind of dirt just coming up behind them, brother. Coming in now they all into the interior. He said they went into Niger. He said they went through Chad. They went through Sudan. They went through Egypt. Huh? They went through Nigeria. They went through Ethiopia. 1 million ran all the way to the west coast of Africa. Now, how they coordinated that, brother? Tell me how they coordinated that. They had radios back then, brother. Everybody come on over this side right here. We going over on the west coast. We got to run through. Some of y'all gonna go through Chad. Some of y'all gonna have to go through Sudan. But make sure y'all stay together, and we gonna all meet up on the west coast of Africa. You know how foolish that sound, brother? But let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
You've got to ask yourself, why did the Israelites run to Africa? The same reason why the parents of the Messiah fled to Egypt.
So now the Israelites ran to Africa because Jesus went to Africa. So they followed. So Jesus' footsteps still is in the dirt of Egypt and Africa and in Jerusalem. So they followed Jesus' footsteps, right? To flee all the way to Africa. Think about how that they fled to Africa because Jesus fled to Africa. When Mary and Joseph was a little boy, the angel told Mary and Joseph to get out and take the boy and go to Egypt and don't come back till I tell you to come back. So they took the same path as Jesus, right? Let's keep going.
To blend in. They were black and needed to blend in with other dark-skinned people.
So he said they needed to blend in with other dark-skinned people. So why, brother, they did not go to Arabia? That was closer. Why they didn't go to Yemen? Why they didn't go to Iraq? That's closer. Why they didn't go to Iran? That's closer. They were black. You don't think they were black? So why they had to go all the way to Egypt and then go all the way from the east to the west coast? I'm going to show you how much this story is a lie. Stay tuned. Let's keep going.
Rudolph R. Windsor, in his book Babylon to Timbuktu, points out, the black Jews who migrated to the Sudan from the north converged with the black Jews migrating from the eastern Sudan to the countries of the Niger River.
Now look what he's saying now. Look what he's saying. The black Jews who migrated to Sudan from the north. From the north of what? With the Jews migrating from the eastern Sudan to the countries of the Niger River. So you got Jews in the north now, right? The north. You talk about north. North of Africa is Russia. That's Magog, family. Let's keep going.
There is much proof and still much more to be revealed by scholars that there existed prior to the slave trade and subsequent to it many tribes, colonies, and kingdoms in West Africa.
Now notice, Rome sacked Jerusalem. They destroyed Jerusalem, and then Israel ran to Africa, and in many tribes, colonies, and kingdoms in West Africa they had. So the Jews, the Israelites, built up kingdoms in West Africa. So the Africans that were there allowed the Israelites to build their kingdom on their land, use their resources. I want you to think about that. Use their resources, and the Africans was okay with that. The Africans, that's just like me coming to your house, taking over your house, using your water, light, gas, your food, and your refrigerator, and then I'm gonna build an upstairs on top of your house, and then sooner or later you're gonna come join in with me, brother. Do you know that's occupation? That's occupying somebody's land, brother. Let's keep going.
Page 120. 1,600 years later, their descendants were rounded up and...
He says 1,600 years later. Let's hear that again. He says 1,600 years later. Let's go. Let's keep going.
to be revealed by scholars that there existed prior to the slave trade and subsequent to it many tribes, colonies, and kingdoms in West Africa. Page 120. 1,600 years later, their
He says 1,600 years later,
descendants were rounded up and captured
he said descendants were rounded up and captured.
by African and the Arabs slave traders.
Now he said by the Africans and the slave traders. So the Africans allowed them to build kingdoms and rulership and all that on their land, and then waited 1,600 years later to help round them up to the white man. Now, do that sound reasonable to you, brother Jonathan? Do that sound reasonable to you? 1,600 years later, Israel fled to Africa and been there for 1,600 years, according to this man in this book right here. He got a revised one too now. He did a revised one because he realized some of the stuff that he wrote in this book didn't make no sense. 1,600 years later, family. Huh? They got rounded up by the Africans and the so-called white man. Let's go. Let's keep going.
And sold to the Europeans, fulfilling the curses that were written in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter.
So the Africans sold them to the Europeans to fulfill Deuteronomy 28. So prophecies say that y'all could survive for 15 to 1,600 years before you take it into slavery. The Bible also says you're going to run into somebody else's land, build up great kingdoms for 1,600 years before you're taken into slavery. The Bible says that you're going to be occupying somebody else's land before you're taken into slavery. I want you to really think about this, man. I'm being comical, but I'm being comical, but you need to really think about that. You fled from your land. You fled into somebody else's land. You built up great kingdoms. That's occupation. That's occupation. Come on, brother. You've been in the military. That's occupation. That's occupation because you're going to use their resources. You got kingdoms. You got a military. Huh? They're not going to be able to move you. They're not going to be able to tell you what to do on their land. You now control their land. Huh? And now all of a sudden, when 1,600 years later, they gonna got tired of you, and then I brought the white man in. Now they saying, "White man, clean this thing up with us." Because these brothers, we got to go ahead on now to fulfill Deuteronomy 28. Let's go, man. Let's go.
Moses forewarned the children of Israel of the curses that would befall them. They did not follow the commandments of the Most High.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So that's the transatlantic slave trade. Estimated 1 million Negroes sold into slavery. That's what he's saying. Now notice now, he say 1 million Israelites fled into Africa, and now 1 million sold into slavery. That exact same number that fled from Jerusalem got sold into slavery. That exact number, boy, that 100 million. Ooh. If I played the numbers, I'll play 100. That's the cash 3, brother. I'll play the cash 3 100. So 100 million fled from Jerusalem, and now 100 million got sold into slavery. You think that's how coincidence you think that is? They got that exact number on target. Let's keep going, man. This is funny, man. Let's keep going.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the...
They go to all people again. All people. shall scatter thee among all people. That's the midgets. That's the people in the woods. That's the people in the campers. That's the people that live in cardboard boxes. That's the people that ride the subway. That's what it says, man. Let's go, man.
One end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
Now notice what they're doing. They're showing the white man right there, showing the white man sticking the dog on a black man. But now I want you to pay attention. Now I'm making this comical, but now I'm gonna be serious on this one right here. You gotta see that man right there in that police suit? That's a black man. That's a black man right there. That's a black man. No, for real. That's a black man. But see, they'll have you believe that that's a white man. That's a black dude. And you hide to say that's your brother. That's your brother. Watch this now. He say that's your brother. He's sicking a dog on another brother. And I'm going to show you that a lot of those folks that was in the civil rights movement were not Israelites. They were not Israelites. Let's keep riding. I ain't going to watch the whole video, but let's keep going.
But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Now listen to the music. The music will get you feeling, man, and look at they burning the body and all the so-called Caucasians just standing around. And that makes you look like, oh man, he loved the Caucasian. But just stay tuned. You're going to be shocked in the next video. Let's go.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy...
Because I just want to say this real quick. Who was the real Ku Klux Klan? Was it actually Negroes or was it Caucasians? You would say it was the Caucasian. Let's keep riding.
Life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
The particular curses that would befall the children of Israel for not keeping the commandments of the Most High.
Now notice look at that slave ship. That's a picture, man. That's a picture. That ain't a real slave ship. And they try to make it look like that's an actual slave ship. That, you know what? That's a schooner. That slave ship is called a schooner. That's either a schooner or a sloop. Look it up. And that ship cannot even hold over 100 people. A schooner or a sloop. S-L-O-O-T-H. And a schooner. S-C-R-O-O-N-E-R. Schooner. That don't even hold over 100 people. And then that ship can only last for 3 months before they had to tear it down and rebuild it. But let's keep going.
Is that they would suffer slavery similar to the type of slavery they suffered in Egypt, and that they would be transported into this new slavery on ships, and that the places where they would be transported, they'd be sold as slaves to their...
Do you see how small that ship is? Do you see how small that ship is? Because and then on the picture they try to make it look like it was a double deck ship that has slaves all in a double deck, like a bus, like an upstairs bus. You know, like them little buses that the people can go upstairs and downstairs. That's what they try to make the slave ship look like. But then when you look at this ship now. Look at the ship.
In Deuteronomy 28:68, it says this.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof see it no more again.
Now right there, y'all say, see, that's the transatlantic slave trade. He said with ships, man. We going back into Egypt with ships. That's what you believe. You say, oh, we going into Egypt with ships. Let's keep going.
There ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
This is one of the links between the true Israelites of the Bible and the transatlantic slave trade. It explains how the Israelites fled into the interiors of Africa as refugees after the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans in 70 AD. More than 1,500 years later, they were rounded up on the African continent and shipped all over the Western Hemisphere to be sold as slaves.
So they say we were shipped all over the Western Hemisphere as slaves. Let's keep going. I want you to pay attention to that. We were shipped all over. We fled from Jerusalem to the interior of Africa. And from the interior of Africa, 1,500 years later, we got picked up and we were shipped all over the Western Hemisphere. Let's ride.
This is the history that has been omitted from the pages of the European history.
They say that was ignored from the European history. How is that ignored from the European history when they had the movie Roots? 12 years of slaves. Huh? They had all these slave movies, man. And how was that ignored, the transatlantic slave trade? What's your name, boy? My name is Kuta Kinte. My name is Tommy. That thing got you, man. That thing got you, man. That thing got you hot. So let's keep going, man. Let's go.
You know, the scripture clearly states in several places where the children of Israel would be in the world. They're all over the world. They were sold as slaves to many nations. You know, it also says that
to be sold as slaves. This is the history that has been omitted from the pages of the European history.
You know, the scripture clearly states in several places where the children of Israel would be in the world. They're all over the world. They were sold as slaves to many nations.
She said many nations. She didn't say all nations. She said many nations. So which one is it? Is it many or all? Which one is it, Doc? Is it many nations or all nations? Let's go.
You know, it also says that in the last days, they would still be in the land of their captivity and in the land of their enemies. And it also goes on to talk about what their lives would be like in the land of their enemies.
Baruch chapter 4, verse 6 and 15. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved God to wrath. You were delivered unto the enemies. For he hath brought a nation upon them from far, a shameless nation, and of a strange language, who neither reverenced old man nor pitied child.
Hold on. Notice the scripture says he brought a shameless nation. One nation, not nations. Let's go.
This was obviously a future prophecy against the children of Israel, because at the time that this was written, the transatlantic slave trade had not happened yet.
Now notice I played this video and I want to stop it right here. Y'all hop on the transatlantic slave trade, like I said from the beginning. That's what y'all give. That's what y'all move to. The transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade. And then you make people get all emotional. You make people mad. You get people angry. You got people looking at the waters when the ships come in. with the containers. You thinking that your people coming in on these ships, on these containers. The transatlantic slave trade. Transatlantic slave trade. That's all you talk about. So Israel was just, so you saying Israel was just on the transatlantic slave trade. Let me stop it right here. Let's go to the next video. Now we about to start. Now we gonna cook. Now we about to cook. Now we about to cook. This brother said, I believe. This brother, I think you just all over the place, I think. You all over the place, I think. You all over the place, brother. Now we about to cook. Fair use, fair use. Let's keep it riding. Let's keep it riding. Let's keep it riding. Fair use, fair use. This ain't my material. I can't even get it out. I can't even get it out. Criticism, constructive purpose only for teaching and for upbuilding. Let's go. Check this out.
Courage is a quiet determination to be there for others for the greater good.
They're never going to be Christians. They're not, they're rebels. They don't want to be, following Christian.
A major supplier of American slaves prior to 1500. As noted earlier, he cost some 3,000 to
the Indians. The Spaniards simply applied the theory of their time regarding slavery. The taking of slaves was then considered part of any expedition of discovery or conquest. So it was a normal thing for the Spaniards to do. It was part of what they did when they so-called discovered something, right? Or when they went into conquest. The high authority of the church sanctioned the institution of slavery to the extent that the leading theologians had declared all barbarous and infidel nations who shut their ears to the truths of Christianity fair objects of rapine, captivity, and slavery.
So these people, the Spaniards came over here and gave the indigenous people Christianity. That means Christianity was not even in this land. Christianity was not even in this land. They gave them Christianity and slavery. Let's keep going. Let's keep riding.
Again, so this is from the high authority of the church, which meant
now look at those coats of arms. And look what color those people are. They're Negroes. Those people are Negroes. But the brothers say that those are my brothers. He say those are my brothers. But those are the same ones that came and conquered me. Those are the ones that brought Christianity to me. But those are my brothers. My brother brought a false god to me, didn't it? Hey, didn't the scripture says that you will go and serve God of wood and stone? And who brought the God of wood and stone to me besides a man that looked like me? You can't deny these coats of arms right here. You cannot. You cannot deny these coats of arms that these are swarthy people. These are people that look like you. And they came over here on warfare. Let's go.
The Vatican, the papal bull they're talking about. If you didn't accept Christ or Jesus, you were a pagan.
1452, Dum Diversa. Pope Nicholas V authorized King Alfonso V of Portugal to invade, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans, to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery, and to take away all their possessions and property. Christians encounter non-Christians could take everything. Did they not come over here and take your land? You said, oh, the white man did that. The white man took your land. Well, tell me how the white man took your land if he coming here on boats, huh? Yeah, scream, because how did the white man take your land? You got to scream because that sounds stupid. Somebody coming in on boats can take people's lands who's already established. If you ain't got people on the inside working against you. Let's go.
All right, or an infidel. You would declare a barbarous infidel if you didn't want to hear the truths of Christianity. All right, so because of that, you were open to be put in captivity and slavery.
Hold on. If the Aboriginal people here did not want to listen to these folks preach Christianity and Christ to them, they were put into slavery. This was before the transatlantic slave trade. So who are these people going into slavery right here? Huh? Who are these? Is these the ones with the Negro feature? Got the brother say that the little small midget of a small tribe of the Southern Kingdom came in with the Northern Kingdom and gave the Northern Kingdom Negro features. Is that still? Is that the Negro feature right there? Let's keep going.
All right, remember, this is a very scholarly article telling you how it really went down.
Here, Columbus was the major supplier of American slaves prior to 1500. As noted earlier, he caused some 3,000 to perhaps 6,000 slaves to be sent to Europe, and also, if we are to believe that his plans were implemented to the Azores, Canary, Madeira, and Cabo Verde Islands. By the year 1500, however, a great escalation began in the shipment of Americans across the Atlantic, since other Spaniards and the Portuguese became directly active. In the year 1500, Americans were directly transported to Europe from the Caribbean islands, from the coast of South America, and from the Terra Nova, Newfoundland region, that's up there in Canada. 3 major new sources of slaves were thus opened up, and it is necessary to examine this subject before proceeding to an analysis of what happened to the Americans when they arrived in eastern lands.
So you have Americans, which is called the Americans or the Americans or the cons, getting transported to Europe from the Caribbean islands, from the coast of South America to Terra Nova, Newfoundland region. It's Canada. So before any Negro came from what you call Africa over there, they were shipping people from here in the 1500s. So I guess that slavery don't matter either. That slavery don't matter. People being taken from over here, being shipped to over there, before anybody came from over there to over here as slaves. I guess that don't matter. That's what.
So right from the beginning, the plan was to enslave the ancestors. They were bringing them to all their colonies, wherever that was in the world, especially over to Europe. As it says here, this is way before the so-called transatlantic slave trade. Or did we just skip all this part of history?
Yeah, we skipped that part of history. We skipped this part of history. Because they want you to focus on the transatlantic slave trade. Forget about what was before the transatlantic slave trade. And only focus on the transatlantic slave trade, Deuteronomy 28:68. But people was being shipped in slavery before Deuteronomy 28:68. So how do you know the people that was being shipped from America, from the Western Hemisphere to Europe are not the Israelites? Huh? How do you know they're not the Israelites? How do you know Jerusalem is not in the Western Hemisphere? Let's keep going. We're going to get somewhere tonight. Let's go.
So the people he brought here were wild. They didn't give a damn what they were doing. You know, they didn't care. They didn't think twice. They came here and saw riches, women, paradise.
He said they saw paradise. Let's go. Did they see paradise when they got to that Jerusalem over there? Did they see paradise? Did they write in any of their writings saying that they saw paradise over there? When they went into Africa to get the Israelites from out of Africa, did they ever write that they said they saw paradise over there? Huh? Because we have writings of when those folks came here and got the aboriginals from off this hemisphere, they say they saw paradise. They say they saw paradise, how the water was clean, how we had kingdoms over here. The people weren't living in dirt. They weren't living in no TPs. Huh? They weren't doing none of that stuff that you see with those Native Americans doing over there in the reservations today. They ain't doing what the Africans do, making their house out of dung. We were living in block houses, brick houses. That's why we had that song. She's a brick house. Huh? That's why we had that. Let's keep going.
All right, that was strategic. Columbus knew what he was doing. He was coming to enslave you, enslave the ancestors. You were gold to him. The general feeling regarding the relation of the Indians to the Spaniards is well expressed by Hernando de Escalante Fontanero, who was with Menendez in Florida as an interpreter. In writing of Florida, he declared it his belief that the Indians can never be made submissive and become Christians. So he advocated that they all be taken, placed on ships, and scattered throughout the various islands and even on the Spanish Main, where they
be scattered on the various islands. Did we not just read that in Jeremiah? He gonna talk to the nations of the isles. What islands were they scattered to? Besides the Virgin Islands and Cape Verde Islands and all that. They were also scattered to the Canary Islands in Africa, huh? What about those indigenous people that sits in West Africa that is indigenous to America? Not during the American Colonization Society. We talk about before the American Colonization Society. What about them? So we forgot about those people. They don't count. The ones that were shipped in Europe. We forgot about them. They don't count. Huh? They don't count. Let's go.
might be sold as His Majesty sells his vessels to the grandees in Spain. You heard that, right? So he's saying, since they're so hard to enslave, they're never going to be Christians. They're not, they're rebels. They don't want to be, following Christianity. They don't want to be worked. They don't want to be, put in fields or become servants. So let's just enslave them. He's basically telling you, send them to their different colonies, put them in ships. Deuteronomy 28. Place on ships, scattered throughout the various islands, and even on the Spanish Main. What does that mean? The New Spain and even Europe. Given this attitude on the subject, it was but natural that the enslavement of the American Indians should begin with the discovery of the Antilles, and that it should be continued by the explorers on the mainland. The Spanish exploring expeditions were war expeditions in the sense that they aimed to conquer and retain for the crown the territory through which they passed. All these expeditions, so-called expeditions, captured and retained Indians as slaves. All of them. All these Spaniards were coming here to enslave. They weren't bringing Africans. All these expeditions captured and retained Indians as slaves. Indians, not Africans.
Where was the Africans at when they was taking the Indians from off the land? Where were the Africans? Where were the Israelites when they was taking the Indians from off the land? Where were they? Oh, my bad. They had kingdoms in West Africa. But notice though, when they were taking the Indians from off the land and putting them into West Africa, why they didn't bump into the Israelites in the West Africa then? Where were the Israelites in West Africa then? Because they were taking the Indians from the Western Hemisphere, taking them and dropping them in West Africa, Europe, the Canary Islands, but they ain't bumped into not one Israelite in Africa. So where was the Israelites then during that time the Indians were being enslaved and being dumped off into West Africa? So was the Israelites in West Africa enslaving the Indians that was coming from America? Huh? You see how the story don't make no sense? Your story don't make sense because they have documentation of taking aboriginals from the Americas, shipping them to Africa, West Africa, the Canary Islands, and Europe. Let's go.
Yet in some cases, it might be difficult to determine whether the Indians enslaved were captives taken in actual warfare or whether they were merely kidnapped by the expedition passing through their territory. And
they kidnapped these people, and they were also in warfare with these people.
They were kidnapped most of the time. Often the expeditions possessed the double character of a war party and a kidnapping company.
Don't they kidnap children today? They kidnap women today. Don't they do that? Have slavery stopped? Let's go.
Continuing the book, Bartolomé de las Casas, his life, his apostolate, and his writings. Says here, the next suggestion, despite any possible excellence of his motives, was a frank proposal to establish a thriving trade in human flesh, as a barefaced as could be made by the least scrupulous black birder. The admiral, always dwelling upon the spiritual welfare of the cannibal natives, proposed that the more of them that could be captured, the better it would be, and then mingling temporal advantages to Spaniards with spiritual blessings to the natives, he explained that the quantities of livestock and other necessaries required by the colonists might be paid for by the sale of slaves sent back to Spain in the ships which would bring these supplies several times a year to the colony. All right, send slaves in ships to Europe. All right, Deuteronomy 28. You've been only looking at one side of the story. The sovereigns are to be reminded that they may collect duties on this slave trade, and an early answer decided in order that the arrangements for the newcomers may be pushed forward. Remember, Columbus was a slave trader before he went to the Americas.
So if Columbus came here looking for slaves, remember he passed by Africa, from Europe to Africa, to get to the Americas. He was already trading slaves in Europe. So how they pass Africa to come all the way to the Americas, get the indigenous people from the Americas, and ship them back to West Africa? Guess what? Where the supposed Southern Kingdom was. The Southern Kingdom was supposed to be in West Africa. They dropping the Indians off right there, the so-called Indians right there, and they taking them off and back in Europe. So Columbus them wasn't interested in the Southern Kingdom just yet. Not just yet. No. It's too early. The prophecy is not yet to be fulfilled. We have to wait until we get the sign from the Creator, and then we're going to go into Africa and get the Southern Kingdom. But in the meantime, we're going to get the Aboriginals from the Americas, and we're going to ship them to West Africa next to the Israelites, Southern Kingdom. Don't bother the Southern Kingdom, not yet. We got to wait another 100 years before we even get to the Southern Kingdom to ship them off. No, 14, 15. We got to wait another 200 years before Deuteronomy 28 can start. Deuteronomy 28:68 can come into effect. Let's keep going.
During a voyage which resulted in the discovery of Jamaica and other islands, he visited that of San Juan, Puerto Rico, for the purpose of capturing more cannibals. In the year 1496, Bartholomew Columbus sent 300 natives who were convicted or accused of killing Spaniards to Spain to be sold as slaves. Again, now we're talking about Christopher Columbus' brother. Yes, if you don't know, he had a brother, and this is his name, Bartholomew Columbus. It says Bartholomew Columbus sent 300 natives who were convicted or accused of killing Spaniards to Spain to be sold as slaves. They were bringing American Indians over there and calling them Negroes over there when they were selling them. Again,
did you know that you could get 50 to over
and his brother brought 300 of them over there to be sold as slaves. So we already know, the Papa Bulls, 1452, I believe, or 40 something, but it was way before Columbus. All right, Papa Bulls given permission, orders to go conquer all the pagans, Saracens, enemies of Christ, or the Vatican or Christianity, right? And take their kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, their palaces, their kings, all that, their land, right? They made it law. They gave a permit, a papal bull, an order. All right, this is the highest order that existed in that time, a papal bull. All right, so you see, they were already coming with a plan. This is way before Columbus. Columbus knew where he was going and what he was about to go do. All right. My desire, Columbus writes, during the first voyage was to pass by no single island without taking possession of it. On occasion, he even offers an island here and there to one of his companions.
It says, thus Columbus, according to Las Casas, was determined to consume the entire population of Haiti by filling every ship with slaves to be sold in the Canary, Azores, and Cabo Verde Islands, or wherever, and planned that these slaves would finance the conquest. They would send the Native Americans from one slave market to another and ended up in these places like Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde was a big slave port, and supposedly a big slave port of where the transatlantic slave trade started. So you see who was over there actually getting sold, right?
Thus, even as Columbus was loading 5 ships with slaves, he was proposing to sell 4,000 in various parts of the Mediterranean and along the coast of Africa. Where? Africa. Who sold?
So Columbus sold slaves to Africa. Where was the Israelites at that time? Where was the Israelites when Columbus was selling slaves to Africa? We talking about West Africa, the Canary Islands. That's the islands that sits off West Africa coast. Where were the Israelites then? Yeah, that's right. Scream, because your doctrine is blowing up. Where were the Israelites then in Africa? When he was selling slaves on West Africa, where were the Israelites in West Africa? See, I told you I played that video at the beginning for a reason, because they say that Israel fled all the way from that Jerusalem, all the way there into the interior of Africa, all the way to West Africa. But in the 1500s, America indigenous. The Western Hemisphere indigenous is being sold to West Africa. Where are the Israelites in West Africa? Where are they? Let's keep going.
over there? The shipment of Americans to Europe and Africa by Columbus and by other Spaniards. Again, the shipment of Americans to Europe and Africa by Columbus. The other way around, reverse, flip the game on you, and by other Spaniards, was then not an accident, nor was it a result of armed resistance or alleged cannibalism. Those were all lies, you see? They're all lies. They were alleged cannibalism, alleged. It was a direct extension of the style of commercial slavery long practiced by the Genoese and Venetians in the Mediterranean and used by the Portuguese along the west coast of Africa. All right, so Columbus has connects with all those people, Greeks, Genoese, and Portuguese. He was a slave trader. He's been on ships since 14 years old. He was already doing this. This was his game. He was good at it. And that's why they really sent him first and allowed him to go. Titled Indian Slavery in Colonial Times Within the Present Limits of the United States by Alman Wheeler Lauber, PhD. All right, Columbia University, 1913. From the beginning of the colony, the settlers of Carolina were in trouble with the Indians. In September 1671, war was declared against the Cusco, a tribe on the southern frontier, who posed as allies of the Spaniards. All right, so this tribe was allied with the Spaniards, the Cusco.
Remember, like I told you, how did they get in? You have to have insiders to letting them in. They don't just come in, they just come in off a boat and conquer you. There were other Negroes on this land sitting there being your enemy. And they let these folks in. They help these folks set up. And they led these folks and taught these folks how to maneuver on this land. Let's go.
And who vexed the Carolina settlers with petty depredations. The Cusco were quickly defeated and the prisoners sent to be sold out of the colony unless ransomed by their countrymen. During the war with the Stono Indians in 1680, the captive Indians were brought to Charleston and sold by Governor West to the traders in the colony to be carried to the West Indies as slaves. Again, Indians, right? Being sent to the West Indies as slaves or servants.
The ancient Egyptians understood that they could.
We're in the book now. It's called Indian Slaves from Caribana. trade in labor in the 17th century
That's the 16.
Caribbean.
That's the
So the
1600s. We're still in the
right?
1600s. Let's
Carolyn Mary Arena is the author, right? Submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, Columbia University, 2017. And it says here, abstract, or I guess like the introduction. It says here, indigenous resistance made Caribbean colonization a slow and violent process in the period of 1580 to 1690. Right? Again, 1580, 1690. The Caribbean Indians who rejected colonization became targets for enslavement.
What just happened? What just happened?
Slavers captured indigenous people in raids or through trade within indigenous dominated territories. I conceptualize this space as Caribana. Geographically, it stretched from Guyana northward throughout islands of the Caribana who were enslaved in English and Suriname. I show how colonists justified enslaving indigenous people in the same manner as they justified the transatlantic African slave trade. All right, so she's telling you, just like the so-called transatlantic slave trade.
So where was the Israelites? Where was the Israelites? We're gonna stop this video right here. Where was the Israelites in West Africa when the Aboriginals in America was being shipped there? Where were they? Where were the Israelites when the Aboriginals were being shipped to West Africa? Where were the Israelites? Let's put up another one of these brother videos. We're gonna watch another 15 minutes of this. Fair use, fair use. Let's go. No. Benjamin Franklin said the number of purely white people in the world is proportionately very small. So how did a small group of people enslave everybody else who was like melanated? How did they do it? A small group of people enslaved a planet full of Negroes. See, they got you looking at the world different because they tell you that you're 12% of the population. You don't look around to see that you're not the 12%. You are the majority. But they got you looking through their eyes. And now you believe the stories that they done been telling you that they've been ruling you since they got here. That's funny. The white man came in, he whipped me. Ah, my back, my back, my back. That's what you believe. You believe that this white man came off ships and just took the land. He went into Africa. He took everything and got you, put you in chains, and nothing else you can do with this small group of people. See, like the brother said in the video, it was a small group of the Southern Kingdom. That was a small group of the white man. That white man ain't no, he's not the majority on the earth. He's not the majority of the earth. But we believe the narrative that he's been telling us for a long time. You really believe he went to the moon. You literally believe that man went to the moon. But ask him to go to the moon today, he's gonna tell you he lost the technology. You believe he made the technology that he's selling to you today. You believe he made the first airplane. You believe he made the first house. You believe he made the first clippers to cut hair. You believe he made the first TV. All because he said it. All because he said it. You believe this man came all the way from over there and he conquered a whole hemisphere. He had no inside help. This dude is just the muscle on the earth. But for somehow, that man got to walk around with a gun because he afraid of your fist. Huh? He's afraid of your fist. He's afraid of you. Let's keep going. Let's go. And in a minute, we're going to get into this skin tone what Benjamin Franklin was talking about. Let's go. me. So what is he saying? So the brother say the Europeans are my brother. You heard what he said? The Europeans are my brother. Huh? So Benjamin Franklin said everybody on the earth is swarthy except a small group of people. So we got to pay attention to what's really taking place. Let's go, because I'm not finished with this video right here. We about to get into some real damning stuff after this. Let's go. Because I'm going to confirm what Benjamin Franklin said in the next video. So let's go. So the Irish was black. So he's saying the Irish was black. They were swarthy. Think about that. Let's go. So who was the people that was actually doing the slave trading? Who was they? If it wasn't the ones that looked like you and me, who was they? I thought it was the white man. Huh? I thought the white man was all over the earth enslaving people. I thought the white man had the net and capturing you like a fish. Who was he? Benjamin Franklin said the white man, the Caucasian man, is smaller on the earth. What's the majority on the earth is niggas like me and you. Huh? Something wrong with this picture. So when they were taking people from the indigenous people from the Americas and dropping them in West Africa, where were the Israelites? I'm still waiting on somebody to tell me. Where were they? Ain't nobody bumping to the Israelites until they got finished with the Americas. So either the Israelites never went to West Africa, or the Israelites done hid into the buildings and the kingdoms that they created. When they saw that white man, they said, oh, the Romans are here, the Romans are here. Let's keep going. Now, this is the Irish he's talking about. This is the Irish who has black curly hair. This is the Irish. But they got to believe that that's the pale man. The reason why they believe that's the pale man, because their mind can't stretch beyond the pale man. Their mind is the pale man. But they'll tell you that they 100% Negro. They are lying. This is the problem. This is the problem. We refuse to accept the actual history of what took place around us. We refuse to believe that. We refuse to believe that people that look like me and you are actually our enemy. We refuse to believe that. That's why. So there was promised land when they signed those indentured service contracts. Now, what you think about that? They signed them land. So when these people were fighting in these so-called wars, what they were really fighting for? Freedom? Or they were fighting to be able to gain certain rights here on this land? Because see, you got to remember, Genesis 9:27 is in effect. Japheth is going to come to Shem's land and enlarge themselves there. If I go to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Magog is going to come to the land of the promise and bring a whole host with him. When did those ever happen? Let's go. Notice he said there was 0 African slaves when they were bringing indentured service from Europe. 0 African slaves. That's why I asked the question. When they was bringing the indigenous Niji from South America, from the islands to West Africa, where was the Southern Kingdom then? Where were they? Where were the Southern Kingdom of Israel? In West Africa. I thought they fled into West Africa. Why they did not see their own? I thought the Native Americans were their own brothers and sisters. So you mean to tell me they saw their own brothers and sisters being dropped off in West Africa and they didn't say nothing? What we got going on here? What we got going on? The selfish nation. Let's go. Y'all run away from this book. Y'all run away from this book. Y'all don't like white slavery. Oh no, we just talking about the Israelites. So those who say that King James was an Israelite, well, there you go. King James was bringing people here. King James added the number of dissoluted persons whom he was determined by the exercise of mere paragat, I don't know what that word means, to remove from England, well, meaning the undesirable, remove from England as an undesirable class. So they was throwing out their what? Their robbers, their rapers, they were throwing out their criminals. And where were they bringing their criminals at? They were dropping them right here. right here among the indigenous people, not no Africans. They were bringing they murderers, they robbers, they rapists, they arsonists. Even the one who didn't even rake his grass, they threw him over here. The one who couldn't even dress in decent colors, they threw him here. All them folks, they just started throwing people right over here. But we don't believe that though. Let's go. Let's keep riding. So hold on. So you telling me now the first video I showed you, they were taking indigenous Americans or Amerindians from here, from the Western Hemisphere, dumping them off in West Africa. Now the second video showing you that there are people that's coming from Europe over to the Americas who are the undesirable class. Now I want you to pay attention to that, the undesirable class. They are dumping them here. They are moving the Aboriginals over there and bringing their undesirables over here. Now let's catch a couple of more. Let's couple like another minute for this, and then we're gonna get into the bombshell. So it's telling you they use white slavery greater than black slavery. So where's the transatlantic slave trade people at? Where they at? These are actual documented records. Where are they? Where are they? Let's go. Did you hear that? They got land grants. They got land grants. Land grants. After the wars. After what they did, what the United States Incorporated wanted them to do, they gave them land grants. Okay? Let's go jump right here, and then we're going to go to the next video. Can't hear the video. Oh, he must be dropped it off.
Info. All right, so now I want to get into this book. It's called, well, it's written by Bernard Balin. He's a Pulitzer for this history lesson. And again, as he was saying, it was indentured servants. All right, in the beginning, there was no African slaves at all. There was no slaves. It was all indentured servants, remember?
And slavery kind of gradually became institutionalized in colonial Virginia until finally it was decided that slaves were the property of their masters for life.
All right, so this is the Johns Hopkins University Studies in Historical and Political Science by Herbert B. Adams, the editor. This history is to the colony in the next 7 years. A large number of servants and tenants was needed on these plantations.
So they was fighting for grants. They were fighting for land grants when they went to these wars.
All right, so they can't even.
But we have to pay attention to what's really taking place. They were fighting for land grants. Let's go.
What they're saying, right?
So now we come to the modern period, and we have this absurd stereotype which denotes black skin with servitude, and it's absurd. It's a folly. So I'm bringing the good news to black people that they are not of any more of a slave race white had to endure hundreds of lashes, and many of them died of that. But another way of penalizing them was to add time onto their length of service. If you ran away a day, that was a month of additional service. If you ran away for a month, that was a year of additional service. If you stole from your master, that could be months of additional service. If you had a corrupt master and the courts of Assize listened more to the master than they did to you, he could have all kinds of trumped up charges against you, as happened in the Caribbean and as happened in the United States in the tobacco plantations. And it meant that in reality, it boiled
Man, what is this thing doing? What is this thing doing? Thing is knocking me out. Why is it doing that? I'm gonna go ahead on try to get in because this thing keep knocking me out. I don't know why it's doing that. Why does it keep knocking me out? I don't have the slightest clue. Okay, here we go. All right, let's ride with it.
To the new. All right. Again, did you understand that? Hundreds of thousands of Europeans, they came in as what? Into bondage. They volunteered themselves into bondage, into Egypt. They came back into Egypt, right? Into bondage for a period of years. Contract to become part of the early stream of immigrant. Slavery played no part in the plans of the early colonizers of British America, all right? Slavery wasn't around. It didn't exist. It wasn't in their mind. They came in with their English laws, which was indentured servitude. They also copied this from the Spaniards, their encomienda and repartimiento system that southeast of US today, where there is so-called black communities today, and been black communities for like 200 years. A lot of people think automatically a Chinese person, a modern Chinese person, but that's not what they were referring to. In the 1500s, 1600s, in the Spanish colonies. Make sure to check out part 1 of this series where we show who the Spanish and Portuguese were enslaving as well. That's the American Indians. Then you can go on to part 2 where you can see another source of slaves, which was Europe. All their undesirable people, they were sending over to the American colonies. And again, today we're going to show a third source, and that was Asia. Before we begin, I just want to make something clear. We're going to see a lot of pictures. A lot of people are going to see, well, those are people who came from out of Africa. At some point, and that's conjecture. A lot of these people, most of these people, we've shown it. We've done a video on the Andaman Islanders. Their haplogroup does not go back to Africa. It's actually an Asian haplogroup. They are Asians. They are part of the original Asians. have nothing to do with Africa. And that goes for most of the people we're going to see in the pictures today. The same people that were being enslaved. But the Spanish and the Portuguese, Moors, Sephardic Jews, New Christians, Catholics, yeah. So-called black on black, yeah, that's what was going on. Of this series where we show who the Spanish and Portuguese were enslaving as well. That's the American Indians. Then you can go on to part 2 where you can see another source of slaves, which was Europe. All their undesirable people, they were sending over to the American colonies. And again, today we're going to show a third source, and that was Asia. Before we begin, I just want to make something clear. We're going to see a lot of pictures. A lot of people are going to see, well, those are people who came from out of Africa at some point, and that's conjecture. A lot of these people, most of these people, we've shown it. We've done a video on the Andaman Islanders. Their haplogroup does not go back to Africa. It's actually an Asian haplogroup. They are Asians. They are part of the original Asians. Have nothing to do with Africa. And that goes for most of the people we're going to see in the pictures today. The same people that were being enslaved. But the Spanish and the Portuguese, Moors, Sephardic Jews, New Christians, Catholics, yeah. So-called black on black, yeah. That's what was going on in Asia. Let's get into it. Video real quick. We're going to show a couple of images here so we can break these spells, our prejudices, you know, get a clear perspective of what really happened, you know, when we're talking about Asians, right? And them being brought over here, you know, during colonial times. Who exactly were they bringing? Negroes were all over the world. So-called Negroes were all over the world, right? And, you know, learning about, you know, the Black Europeans, so-called Black Indians, you know, things they never told us. You know, we were a little bit more open, you know, now and acceptable of certain things. I know there's still a lot of people out there that are, you know, prejudiced and, you know, just want to label people tags and then call people Asian or Mongol or anything like that, you know. But what I want to show today, a part of history also that they never tell us about, that really doesn't get mentioned in school or anything like that, even though a lot of us know about the indentured servants and things like that that were brought over to the Caribbean, Mexico, you know, California, South America, you know, back in colonial times, all the way to like the 1800s, even 1900s still happening, actually, I would say, you know. Moluccas, indigenous people, the Moluccas, as they're called, Moluccas people, again, from Southeast Asia. All right, so real quick, so we can get a clear perspective of what I'm talking about. So what I just showed you is the Moluccas people, or the Maluku Islands, the Maluku Island people, right? This is in Indonesia. All right, let me just back up so you guys can see where we are. Right on top of Australia. Papua New Guinea's right here. We got the Philippines over here. Borneo. All right, we're gonna see a lot of pictures from there. Malaysia, Sumatra, Java, Jakarta, capital, Javanese, Timor. We're gonna see people from all these places today. We're gonna see a lot of pictures. A lot of them, I couldn't determine what island they're from, but they're from all these areas. The Ambon people, as you guys can see, Ambon, study them. Very melanated people. We're gonna get into the Philippines a lot. Look how it says here, Negroes. So I'm gonna show you guys a lot of pictures from a lot of the indigenous population in these places. So many islands here, a lot of places, a lot of people they never showed us. Coming from Asia, this is Borneo. You see Borneans. Over here is Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. So again, the Maluku Islands, we're gonna see a lot of pictures from the Maluku Islands and all these areas around here. Even up here, look, North Maluku, this is all connected. When you see Malakus or Malukas, that's what they're talking about. Just wanna show you guys also, there's so many islands out here. As it keeps going, you see the Solomon Islands.
Over here, Samoa. You got Fiji. We're gonna see a lot of pictures from Fiji, the Fijians, Samoa, right? Islands. We got the Marshall Islands. All these have people, melanated people. Micronesians, the Micronesian Islands, Polynesians. All right, Guam. All these are so-called Negro people, as they would be classified in America as so-called Negro. And these are the Chinos we're about to read. These are the Chinos they were bringing across the Pacific, bringing them over to the colonies, the Spanish colonies in America. So these are from the Maluku Islands. This is right here, this couple, or Moluccas, and as they're called too. All right, get a great look, as you guys can see. These are not Africans. All right, now take a look at this. Over here in the left, we got an indigenous elder from the island of Papua New Guinea, Southeast Asia, South Pacific, and very much resembling the phenotype of LeBron James. These are the indigenous people of the Papua New Guinea area. And I'm gonna show you guys today that these are the people they were calling Chinos. A lot of these so-called Chinos were people from Papua New Guinea. This is actually the one I found on the internet. I changed it up a little bit, but this is what I found on the internet. So somebody else had made the connection. Not saying that LeBron is from Papua New Guinea, but he does have a similar look. And I want to show some old statues here. We're going to show a couple of them. And as you guys can see, just to compare, this is an afro they're depicting. You see the phenotype and you see the afro, right? Talking about the original people. And this is an Ainu woman from Japan. This is, again, old pictures I colorized. I found this very old picture here from the 1800s. I colorized it. This is what we got. And it said Ainu woman. Another statue here, as you guys can see, compare the hair of these Buddhas. Just another one right here to compare. As you guys can see, look at the hair. You see? We got another one right here. I mean, just look at the phenotype. That looks like a lot of people I grew up seeing in Boston. And then look at her hair. I say her, I could be a male, but look at the hair. Again, the woolly curly hair. And we got here a Champa king of the Vietnam old Champa culture. All right, and you see the phenotype. Just like when you're looking at the Olmec heads, what's the difference? You know, you look at this and, you know, you got to do the same. You got to see. And of course, you got a beard and a mustache, you see. These are the people that the Sephardic, Moorish, Jewish pirates were enslaving and snatching up, buying, selling, trading all over this area right here. We're going to talk about India too, this whole area. A lot of the eastern part of India, even though they went up on this side too. A lot of this side though, in the eastern part, was raided. There's all these coastlines raided. They had help with local indigenous people who had wars with other tribes. They were already enslaving other nations and tribes on their own before the Portuguese there got, but the Portuguese and Sephardic Spanish Jews, they went really crazy with it. Remember, these are so-called black folks too, enslaving other so-called black folks. As shout out to Con Drop, as Con Drop says, more on more war. Okay, so I really want to emphasize this. I know a lot of people, when they watch these videos, a lot of people, they haven't taken the journey. We've been here 5 years. We've already debunked the out of Africa theories. Those are theories, not facts. They're basing all that stuff based on ape bones. The bones they talking about in Africa come from apes, not modern human type. They're not modern Homo sapiens sapiens. Just do the research. All right. As you guys can see, we're talking about a whole different area right here. When they told us about slavery and people getting enslaved
in a transatlantic slave trade, remember? They told us it was on this side of the world, West Africa, and they were bringing all these people over here, right? They never really emphasized this side, the Pacific. They never emphasized this massive trans-Pacific slave trade. These so-called Chinos, so-called Negroes, they never told us about. All right, you guys gotta break the spell. This ain't personal. Gotta graduate from 1993. Pan-Africanism, that's been debunked. You guys gotta catch up. So we're gonna learn a lot about the trans-Pacific slave trade today. We're gonna learn about the Manila galleons, okay? The flotilla between Manila and Acapulco, or Mexico and the Philippines. The Manila galleons are very famous, and you actually study this trade from Asia, trans-Pacific trade, right? They kind of sugarcoat everything. They just talk about how they were bringing over exotic goods, porcelain, ivory, spices, and all this other stuff except slaves. They kind of sugarcoat it. The archaeology of Manila galleons. Manila galleons are the stuff of legend. Active for 250 years, they were the vehicle for people, products, and ideas between Asia and Spanish world. Among the biggest ships of their time, they were built to endure one of the most difficult navigations, the crossing of the Pacific Ocean, which sometimes lasted half a year, right? 6 months in the ocean. A middle passage, guys. I'm gonna show you who was going through this middle passage on the way to New Spain, Mexico. The Manila galleon in California. Yeah, it was going all the way to California. This Manila galleon, all right? I'm gonna show you what it was doing there. It was literally transporting slaves, guys. Again, when you read about this stuff, they don't tell you about any slaves. The Cebu Acapulco galleon trade. Next page it says the Manila Acapulco galleon trade. The Manila Acapulco galleon trade is the more popular name of the Philippine-Mexico galleon trade. The ships used in this trade were called the Manila galleons. They were among the richest trade ships for their time, competing with the Silver Fleet of Peru and the India Fleet of Portugal. On their way to New Spain, as Mexico was called then, the galleon's cargo holds were filled with silk, spices, porcelain, cotton, musk, wax, and curiosities of the East, which were sold at very high prices at the market fair in Acapulco. I guess by curiosities of the East, they mean the slaves, because they literally left them out, guys. I'm going to show you what was the main profit of this Manila galleons. It was slaves. We're going to read the history. I mean, everywhere you read about the Manila galleons, you know, they don't really talk about the slaves. It says they were Spanish trading ships for 2.5 centuries, all right, 250 years, linked to Spanish crown's royalty of New Spain. That's 250 years of slavery, guys, over from Asia to America. With her Asian territories collectively known as the Spanish East Indies across the Pacific Ocean, the ships made 1 or 2 round-trip voyages per year between the ports of Acapulco and Manila. The name of the galleon changed to reflect the city that the ship sailed from. The term Manila galleon can also refer to the trade route itself between Acapulco and Manila, which lasted 1565 to 1815, guys. When did they outlaw importation of slaves? 1809. We're still doing it in 1815 on the Pacific. So where's the Africans? I'm going to show you what I mean, all right? We already saw part 1 of this and part 2, right? We already showed 2 sources of slaves that was covering these years as well. Now we're going to show you another source that's covering these years. The Manila galleon sailed the Pacific for 250 years, bringing to the Americas cargoes of luxury goods such as spices and porcelain in exchange for New World silver, all right? And again, they're not going to say nothing about any people being transported, any slaves, all right? They don't want you to know. They want you to think everybody was brought from Africa that was a so-called slave. These are Aeta children, 1930s Philippines, the Aeta, very ancient people.
in the Philippines, no doubt. All of them have these features with the woolly, curly hair, very swarthy. And these people were also being labeled Chinos as they were being taken in this middle passage through the Trans-Pacific slave trade, colonial times. These beautiful children right here. Take a look. It says an Ayeta woman and a child from the Philippines, also from the Ayeta tribe. They are thought to be among the earliest inhabitants of the Philippines, preceding the Austronesian migrations. Before the Austronesians, these are the people who were there anciently. They're not Africans. They've been there since creation. They're original to that part of the plane, the earth, the world. All right, so we're going to talk about, Filipinos as well, and how they were, how they had a huge slave market in Manila in the Philippines. Just want to remind everybody, again, we just saw some pictures of some Philippines, but I want to show some more drawings here now, get more perspective. It says here, exhibit of a racist cartoon depictions of Filipinos. All right, depictions of Filipinos. And it says here, Imperial Dreams. And you can see here the Filipino, You see how they're depicting the Filipino, right? Go to another image here. This again, these are Filipinos. Another image and drawing. Shows here Filipino Negro and Southern Negro. This franchise Negro. And it says, make the Filipino free, give him self-government, Dr. Jekyll Bryant. And it says, the Southern Negro must not rule, he must not vote, by order of Mr. Hyde Bryan. All right, you see that? And it says, for one Negro and against the other, Dr. Jekyll Bryan and Mr. Hyde Bryan. All right, very interesting and very telling, right? And then I got another one here. This is Uncle Sam, right? It has Puerto Rico. Very interesting one. Look at Puerto Rico, right? You see how Hawaii, that's Cuba. You see all, right? As you can see, that we're depicting Ladroni. It says, and Philippines right here. Philippines, Ladroni, Cuba, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, right? Also called Negroes, right? Philippines included. There's another one here. It says political cartoons and Filipinos. And this one right here is the Filipinos. You can see in his feathered headdress or whatever that is from his coming his head. Then you got Hawaii, Cuba, right? Very racist. But see how they're depicting because they knew, right? The original Filipinos. Here's another one. It says Philippines and it shows this guy right here. Again, not Africans. These are not Africans. This is another one. It says here, the Boston Sunday Globe, the Boston Globe, expansion before and after. And it shows the Filipino before expansion, right? And then it says the Filipino after expansion, all dressed up, right? You see how they're drawing? That's the Filipino. And shout out to 432 The Drop Radio. Learn a lot from Con Drop. And it says here, images from the past, stereotyping Filipino immigrants in California, right? From the Santa Clara University. And look at the image they got here. All right. Uncle Sam holding a Filipino baby, right? A Filipino baby. Information wanted. He says, Uncle Sam, now that I've got it, what am I going to do with it? And you see, they don't know. They brought them all over here. They brought who? The so-called Filipinos, so-called Negritos, so-called Chinos. We're going to read. All right, this is the Filipino. Break the spell. And this is an awesome pic. Wanted to definitely find another Fiji with a so-called Afro pic, right? Fixing up their hair. And I found this one awesome, as you guys can see. All right, you see her hair, the woolly, curly hair. All right, this is a Fijian woman. Awesome pic right here. This girl is from Sumatra.
Indonesia. They wore these type of headgears, looking like one of the Star Wars characters from a different planet, right? But that's what I'm saying. Where do they get the ideas in those movies, right? Just from the tribal people of this earth. Here we have Rais Monoarfa, the Prince of Kerajaan, Gorontalo, posing in 1870. Later, he became Dojo Gugu Kota, and he died in Manado. All right, Rais, the Prince of Kerajaan. Look at him. All right, this is an Asian. Look at him, so swarthy. Look at his phenotype. So very cool picture. He looks like a pretty serious young man. And here we have people in the Rubiana village of New Georgia, Western Solomon Islands. Solomon Islanders, all right? Again, Solomon Islanders, indigenous Solomon Islanders, so-called Negroes. And again, being enslaved by the Portuguese and Spanish, being brought to Americas and being labeled so-called Chinos. Chinos, here's your Chinos, guys. Here we have Sri Sultan Hakem Kubuwono the sixth, also spelled Hamen Kubuwana the sixth, was the sixth sultan of Yogyakarta, of the Yogyakarta Sultanate, who reigned from 1855 to 1877. Javanese, all right? This is a Javanese monarch, all right? Javanese monarch, you guys can see, so swarthy, royalty, original Javanese, so-called Negro, so-called Chino. 3 employees of the Dutch East Indies Public Works Service in Lombok, Indonesia. Lombok, Indonesia, look at these. Indonesians, so-called Negro people. Indonesians, so-called Chinos. Here we have the princess of the Mindanaos, dancers in the Philippines. Look at her. Look at her. Filipino dancer. Look, princess of the Mindanao. She's a princess, guys. She's a princess, an Asian princess. Look at that, from the Philippines. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Awesome picture. I colorized. Love these pictures. The princess of the Mindanao's dancers. Go ahead and read this book right here, which is called Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, From Chinos to Indians by Tatiana Sejas. We just hear Chinos to Indians, so a lot of people like to kind of generalize and assume when they're talking about Chinos, they're talking about modern day Chinese or people from China, looking people, pale skin, straight hair, what we picture of Chinese today. But actually, as it says in this book, I'm gonna read it to you right now in the introduction. All right, it says, during the last 16th and 17th centuries, countless slaves from culturally diverse communities in the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia journeyed to Mexico on the ships of the Manila Galleon. Again, from where? From Southeast Asia, all right? Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia, all right? Not from China. They're not bringing these people from China or Mongolia, all right? Not China or Mongolia. They're coming from the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. Now that we understand, the book is telling us these people were coming from the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia, not China, not Korea, not all those places up there, not Mongolia, Southeast Asia people, okay? So get that in your heads right now. So-called Chinos, again, from Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent. So this is the type of people we're gonna go over it today. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. With these images, I colorized some of them, and just so we can get a clear perspective. This is another picture of Buddha right here, as you can see. Another statue, of Buddha. All right, again, ancient, Asia, right? Ancient Asia. Now, right here, we got 2 South Indian women and a girl. All right, so again, remember the book said they were coming from the Indian subcontinent, Hindus, right? They were bringing them over here during colonial times. And then we got this brother right here. He's a tribal man from New Caledonia, right? New Caledonia. This is in Southeast Asia, just like the book just told us that they were calling Chinos. And what did the book say? In that book, we're going to read it. Now, this image I thought was very, it says here, why are slanted eyes only associated with Asian people? right? So again, kill the prejudices. Just because somebody has so-called slanted eyes or Asian eyes doesn't mean, you know, they're Mongols or Chinese. All right. And the left, we got a Dinka girl. She's from Africa. The Dinkas, that's what they look like. On the right here, we got a Khoisan girl, one of the original people in Africa. The Khoisans are one of the oldest people in Africa. And they'll tell you they didn't originate there. They came from somewhere else up in the north. I would say, in my research, and you know, I hope to do a future video on the Khoisan, I believe they were coming from the Caucasus, Caucasian area, the original Caucasians that went down into eventually Africa. But you know, for now, let's leave it as my opinion, right? So don't worry, you know how I work. Eventually, I'm gonna have the sources. We're gonna try to go ahead and unlock that mystery. But I just wanted to make that clear. These are two Africans right here. As you can see, the one on the right, very light skinned. The one on the left, very dark. You know, even though they got the slanted eyes, they look kind of like each other, but you see the different shades, right? Even in Africa, right? Even in Africa. This is a Tamil girl from Ceylon, Sri Lanka. Again, remember that book told us that they were bringing these people and labeling them Indians, these Chinos, so-called Chinos from Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent. This is a Tamil girl. Right here, we got also other people from Sri Lanka, indigenous Sri Lankan people. All right, again, Southeast Asian, Indian subcontinent, Southern Indian men, southern part of Hindustan, as it was called before, today known as India. And that's an indigenous person from India. All right, so real quick, as you guys see here, it says Flores. This is the Flores Islands. In the Flores Island people, I'm going to show you this again, Indonesia. Let's go to a picture of the Flores Islands people real quick. It says here, Flores Islands, Indonesia, portrait of a woman with water holder on head, Leloba Larantuka, East, Nusa Tenggara, 1928. All right, so take a really good look here. As you guys can see, so-called Negro people, right? This is indigenous people of that island. This is a Filipino. It says here, Abago. Here we have South Pacific Asian women, some more. And these are some of the ones that I didn't know, the regions. Well, we just knew they were from Asia. Again, they don't show us these type of people when we think of Asians. And to me, these are so-called Negro women. Rating these pictures, all the same people they're talking about here. This is the same people they were bringing to Philippines, Manila. All those pictures I just showed you guys, right? Don't get lost. These are the same people they're talking about. They were bringing to the Americas as so-called Chinos. See, it says here, girls dressed for the harvest or New Year's party in honor of the ghost. Headdress on forehead in the shape of the moon or horns. This is from Indonesia. All right, these are Indonesians. Check it out. All right, again, not Africans, and these are the people, as they were mentioned in the book, a lot of their people were being enslaved, okay, and brought to Mexico. Right here, we got some Golas, some low-caste Hindu tribe in Rajputana region of India. Now, very interesting name, Golas, huh? Golas, Gula, Golas, Gula, Gula, Gola. Could there be a connection with the Gula of America, Gola, Gula? Right here we have a group of Tiruraye women from the Cotabato, Mindanao region of the Philippines, 1901. And again, these people were being called Moros or Muslims, Moors. These people were being called Moors in this area. This is a really cool picture I found. It was very old, very small. I, made it bigger, colorized it, fixed the pixelation a little bit so I can look, so we can see what's going on in the picture. As you guys can see, it says here, headhunter from Papua New Guinea, Southeast Asia. Papua New Guinea headhunter, huh? Zoom in a little bit, right? This is what he looks like. Look at the feathered crown, right? And then look what he's carrying here. It looks like he has an actual head. An actual head. Look at that. A headhunter from Papua New Guinea. Could that be a real head? Most likely. Right here we have a Hindu elderly woman from India. All right. Just look at her. Look like a lot of people's grandma to me. We got here Sakunath, that's her name, Sakunath, the Kanak warriors from New Caledonia Island, and the